So I'm picking up the energy of someone who doesn't really know where they are. They don't know how they got there. They've either been taken out of character in a sense that someone's behavior has caused them to behave in a certain way that they wouldn't normally behave, or they are in a situation where they would never agree to be there, even if they put themselves there. And so it's almost kind of like picking your head up in the middle of the woods and going, wait a minute, how did I get here? Which way is out? I'm trying to see what it's about. I think we're gonna have to pull some more cards. Yeah, which way is out is ringing on my ears. Yeah. But before I thought they were just lost. Now it's like the woods are on fire. Trying to see if this is towards the end or if we're just in the middle. Yeah, we're in the middle of something. How'd I get myself here? So it looks a little bit more dramatic than something that they would prefer, like for their life, or like right now. Yeah. They don't need this, whatever is going on. This doesn't have to be like an outside conflict. This could be like something, they could be going through something internally or healing from something. Yeah, even though this card came out, I'm still getting that they could be like, it could be internal. They don't want to deal with that right now. They don't want to deal with it right now, but they have some stuff they're holding on to that they don't want to let go of either. So it's not just about like, oh, I'm hurt, I have to think about this so that I can like feel better about it. This is kind of like, I have to either stop doing some things or I need to, I don't know why I just thought of stop doing some people. Yeah. And I don't necessarily want to do that. I feel like there's a little bit of a control issue here. Someone either caused the situation that is now out of control, or they are making it happen, or making a situation to where someone feels like I say, like they wouldn't put themselves there. This is something that they're supposed to go through. If there is another person involved, this is something that they're supposed to go through and they're supposed to learn from. Yes. Because they're here and they need to be here. And this could be anybody. This could be a parent or, even a child, a teacher, anyone who thinks that, getting into the middle of a situation between two other people or between other people is a good idea. It's not really telling me what the situation is. Like, it's not like, I'm not even getting a vibe off of it. So this could be different situations for different people. Yeah. And so for a hot second, somebody didn't know their worth, and but then they got taken a little bit too far. Then where they needed, where they wanted to go, where they wanted to let someone else take them. It didn't matter who that person was. Could have been in any type of relationship. Like I said, it could have been a parent, but someone took them just like one step too far, and they were like, you know what? And this is basically saying that it was always that way, and that it wasn't really like even, and the person, if they knew it, they pretended like they didn't know it, and then everybody else knew it. And so it was one of those things where everybody just kind of watched it happen. And I think that's the other reason why this person is not happy, because it's almost like they feel like somebody should have stepped up to them and said, hey, doesn't this not look right to you? Or, don't you know your worth or something, when really the people that were around them that were watching this happen, like, didn't know their own worth either. They didn't have anything to teach this person, because they were just like them. They were in the same situation, or just watching it and not realizing, like, either how bad it was. Because like I said, this card is kind of telling me that everybody around the situation knew about the situation. Could be anything. It's not telling me. But someone was supposed to experience this with this person, create their boundaries. Yeah, because for a while they just chose not. They didn't want to deal with it. Wow. So they chose not. Yes. It wouldn't stop. So they wanted to be like, I just kind of wanted to stop. I'm just gonna wait until somebody can't do that forever. And then it got to the point where they were just kind of like, no, I can't do this. How did I get here? How do I get out? How do I get out is coming back up again. It's not even like a relationship anymore. Like, even like I said, if it's between two family members, it's like Death Race 2000. How do I get out of this? It's a little bit of this nightmare energy. It's a little bit of this, like, it's almost like different things are going on, because this seems like a situation all by itself. And then, like I said, this is kind of like, wow, I could have been here doing this, but here I am. And then this is kind of like, well, separately, so I have to let go of this to get what I want. And, it's kind of like this weird, like, internal battle of just being stubborn and controlled. But I think to a certain extent, if they're allowed to be stubborn in this particular situation, then somebody doesn't have total control, no matter what somebody says. There's other stuff going on, like we said. Yeah. Someone's giving them something. They're getting something out of it. I don't care how small it is. They're getting something out of it that's causing them to stay or causing them to feel paralyzed. I knew that was coming. Excuse me. Causing them to feel like they can't move. And it could be anything. It could be like a stall, like they're waiting for something to happen. That card fell on the floor. What is that? Yeah. Our King of Wands again. They know. I think they even know what they have to do. Yeah. They know, so the place that they're in that they don't want to be in, that has made them choose, like, understand where they want to be. Without all that negativity, it would not help them to figure out exactly where they wanted to be. And now that they see that they're in the exact opposite place that they want to be, they're like, They've pinpointed their destination. Another card that fell on the floor. What is that? Oh, there's 2 of them. And this one flipped over. Someone is thinking about someone else that is not in the situation. So I did pick up a little bit of regret somewhere. Regret is definitely on the table somewhere. There's also, So this person wishes that they could like teleport themselves to where they want to be. Like once they realized that they were like at the wrong theme park, they wanted to just materialize in front of their favorite ride. Like like I can't make this up. Yes. So yeah, it's weird. I just got hit with this energy. They just like flipped. When they looked up, when they were in the forest and they looked up and they saw it was on fire, and they realized that they didn't set that fire and that they were burning, they flipped right out of that situation. They saw someone for who they were. They saw who they had to be to allow that to happen, and they instantly wanted to be somewhere else. Wherever they thought they were getting a little bit of support, no. In fact, they understand now that if they took this person out of the equation, either in like the current situation or past situations, that some of the things that happened wouldn't have happened, and some of the emotions that they had to experience and the situations that they had to go through, they wouldn't have happened either. And some of them weren't necessarily like 100% damaging, but they were just embarrassing, or they were just, something that was just slightly to the point where, it was maybe even almost weird. And they just didn't like it. They didn't, over and over again, didn't like it until it got so bad that, they were like in a room that was on fire. And they looked around and they were by themselves. So, all of a sudden I'm having trouble speaking. So, if you're feeling this person's energy, and especially if it's been a while, because this is my no contact deck, it's up to you what you want to do with this situation. You can cut them off. I think that if you cut them off, they're still coming. They may not come. I don't see any hesitant energy though here. I see a bunch of wands. So, and then, these, I think this person, like sometimes people, and especially when they've been gone a long time, they don't know how to approach you because they're aware that they burned a bridge, or maybe you burned a bridge, or everybody burned their bridges, right? Or sometimes they burned a bridge and they want to use your bridge to cross, right? This person knows how to approach. So if they don't, it might be because they've chosen that it's a bad time. You don't come in with all this energy. You don't come to someone who's worth it and say, hey, I screwed up. It's your turn. So at some point you either have to kind of heal yourself to the point where you're, worthy to approach this other person, especially if you hurt them, and not just with certain things in mind, or to trauma bond, even if, you never put them through trauma, this can still happen. And so like I said, if this person does choose to move forward and like does choose to make contact, they're still bringing the things that they should let go of behind. It seems pretty fresh. If not, you can always figure out like how long it's been for them, what they've done to heal from it so that they don't bring that to you, because that will be a thing. Otherwise, if you're not feeling this person's energy, this is a heads up. If you start feeling their energy, that could be why. You could even start feeling their energy. They may not move forward because, again, like I said, they may understand that they're not in the state where they should be doing that. Bouncing from one thing to the other, like, hey, it's your turn. And plus most people would know like, hey, I'm feeling a certain way, like I don't want to date right now or whatever that is. It's never personal. People are always like, why won't they date me? And like they dated her. And it's like, yeah, why would you want to be confused with her in their heads? Because they haven't had time to adjust to be away from someone who may have been traumatizing them. You need to be careful before you introduce yourself into somebody else's PTSD. So give it time. And, if you want to communicate with this person, I would say do it in a way where it promotes their healing, not in a way where you're stepping in and like taking the place of someone who caused someone else pain just because they either don't want to heal, don't want to wait, or miss you. Because that's not that relationship. Most of the time in certain situations, that kind of situation isn't even really allowed to happen. If you've done the work that you need to do to stay away from that, a lot of times God will keep that from coming towards you just because. But let's say that he doesn't and he gives everybody the free will to just approach each other. It's not going to work. You're going to be like, you only want one thing, or they're going to be like, something's up with you, you're doing something, and this is going to turn into this, and and then you're going to be like, hey man, like I made a sacrifice, so you got to be careful. I'm not her, you have to be careful. So again, it's up to you. I'll probably always say that, what you want to do with your energy with this person. The calmest and path of least resistance would be to have conversations with them without getting emotionally involved, to spend a lot of time figuring out where they are and figuring out where you are too, like I said, especially if this has been a situation where they've been gone for a long time, because being by yourself and being healed is different than being with somebody else and being healed. And if both people aren't healed, then that sometimes being yourself and being healed can turn into something else if you want to buy into it. And that's why it's so much better for both people to be healed by themselves, because then when they come together, they have to learn how to be healed together. So like I said, even if you've been mastering life by yourself, bringing a whole other person into the conversation changes everything. So make sure that they're worth it, and make sure that they're bringing something of value, and make sure that they match your energy to a certain extent so that you have something to work with. Because I'll tell you what, you could try changing people, but what might end up happening is they might end up changing you. So keep that in mind until the next time.